day 2 of Fan Expo. I'm talking to Jamie Toghill. You are the lead designer of the Wii version of the Tron Evolution video game. The Wii version has a subtitle.
That's right, so it's Tron Evolution Battle Grids on the Wii, exclusively for the Wii. So it's a very, very different game from next gen. And it's actually been co-developed with a company down in Orlando, Florida called N-Space. And what they've basically been doing is doing the core development. And then I've been kind of managing the project a little bit more up in Propaganda in Vancouver.
Now, before we get into the details of the Wii title, can you talk a little bit also about the next-gen title coming out?
Sure. So, again, going back to the Wii, it's set in an earlier timeline, so it's more utopian. Now, when you get to the next-gen game, the PS3, the 360, and the PC game, you're looking at a game that's geared towards a more realistic look, so it looks very much like what you see in the movie. And it's also a dystopian period. So basically, things that have started to go wrong in the Tron universe. You play a program called Anon. It's an anonymous program brought into the Tron universe, basically to start seeing trying to see what's going on within the city and the environment. So what's basically happening is the city's breaking down in terms of, like, there's programs there that are basically causing trouble, and everything's starting to fall apart. And you get to uncover that story and understand what's been going on with Kevin Flynn, because there's a big thing in 1982 going to 2010 is, you know, where's Kevin Flynn? The whole Flynn Lives thing that you see on the internet is like, what's been going on? And you get to find out that in the story. Kind of, it's based around 1989, 1990, and you get to see, before you see the movie Tron Legacy, you get to see exactly what's been going on, and that'll tie a lot of pieces together when you get to see the movie in December.
I'm assuming you're also incorporating light cycles. Are there other vehicle combat involved as well?
Absolutely, very, very cool stuff's going on there. So with the online spaces in particular, this is the cool thing. So you can actually play the game foot combat, doing this kind of cool capoeira type combat system in there, high mobility combat. And anywhere, sometimes when you walk through the environments, you'll see some kiosks you can go up to them, and it will seamlessly transition you into online gameplay. And in the online kind of gameplay, the battle arenas, you get to either do hand combat, you can do light cycles, and you can do tanks as well. You can mix it up, so that's the great thing there. You can just seamlessly go online, 5v5, and start just playing together and against each other, which is a very, very cool thing in the game.
Now, how does the Wii game differ from the next-gen title, gameplay-wise?
Very, very different. So we focus on that bite-sized gameplay experience on the Wii. So you're looking at, like, we have 15 different grid games in there. That's light cycles, we have light runners, which is the new vehicle, the four-wheel vehicle that you see Quora drive in the trailer. And we also have like light discs, so we don't just have vehicles in the game. So you get to play in all these different arenas, these different parts of the Tron universe. Again, very much like the next-gen game, and with our game on the Wii, it's an expanded universe. We've taken what they've done with the movie, working with Joe Kosinski, the director, and Sean Bailey, the producer, and figured out what can we do in this huge space that's happened between 82 and 2010. And so when you go to our games, you don't just see Tron City, you get to see a lot of other cities and environments that existed in our timeline, that contain perhaps other program types that I can't tell too much about, but it's very, very cool that there's all these different types of programs that exist in our kind of timeline. We have a customizable tournament called the Championship Mode. In there you can pretty much, 4 players, you can go and you can choose how you want to play the game. If you want to do light cycles back-to-back in different arenas, you can do that because that's your favorite game. You can mix it up, you can do discs and cycles all together. And the other thing you can do is a story mode.
Are you supporting Wii Motion Plus?
Yes. So Wii Motion Plus, I mean, the great thing about what we've done, I think the guys down in N-Space, when they were developing it, particularly the light cycle game, if you play it now, without the Motion Plus, it was very, very fluid. So when we've added the Motion Plus, yes, it's there, but I mean, it doesn't make a significant amount of difference to the experience, because what we've already done, I think, is very, very solid.
Now, working on a licensed property, there's that curse of the licensed game, especially the movie tie-in, that, you know, historically has not been too successful. Obviously, the company publishing this game is the company making the movie. Is that an advantage? Have you been working very closely with the studio to have assets available early on in production of the movie?
Absolutely, it's an advantage because you have, like you just said, you have all the assets and everything available to you, and you can be very collaborative. But going back to that curse of the movie-based game, we didn't want to be that game. We wanted to be, and that was across the entire franchise, the Wii game and the next-gen game, and in particular the next-gen game that is very, very much closer to the movie in terms of like how it delivers the story moving into the movie. And that was the whole point, is they wanted, really to make a game that started to tell that story, but not the exact story of Legacy. So it's actually kind of like a huge teaser going into the movie of starting to see what's happening, and it was a case of expanding that universe, going back and kind of answering those questions that a lot of the fans have had out there from the original movie, and get everyone excited about Legacy, but not give them the Tron Legacy story. That was never our intention, and I think that's where a lot of movie-based games go wrong, is because they just try and emulate what's in the movie. We didn't want to be that game. We wanted to really create our own universe, but make sure that it tied into the Tron Legacy movie, and that's where I think we're going to be really, really successful.
Okay, talk a little bit about challenges of bringing the art style of the Tron movie to a gaming engine. Was it easier that there's less textures to work with?
I think the beauty of the Tron universe is that futuristic kind of look and feel translates itself very well to the game. And you look at the visuals in Tron City, running through this other city that we have here on foot, and visually I think and the feedback we've had is it looks outstanding. So I don't think there's been any limitations. Naturally, we get some amazing assets from the movie guys, and yeah, they had to be kind of made right for the game, so we have to take them down a notch or two in terms of the detail. But at the end of the day, we still got a fantastic looking artwork in our game.
I was going to ask you about Propaganda Games. You guys are out in Vancouver. You have another title in the works for Disney, Pirates of the Caribbean. What other games have says Propaganda worked on as well?
So the original product that Propaganda Studios did was Turok. And so after Turok, we started to look at the other games. So we started doing Tron, and it tied in nicely that we're doing Pirates of the Caribbean, Armada of the Damned. Again, that's a game there's obviously Pirates of the Caribbean, a future movie coming out. But in terms of again, with that game, it's not tied towards the movie. It's all about making sure that we're expanding the universe. I mean, what a great field to play in is playing the Pirates universe. It's so rich. I think what those guys are doing in that part of the studio is just going to be amazing. Everyone wants to play a Pirates game. I've wanted to play one since the original Sid Meier's game that I'm sure you're familiar with. And now just seeing how rich that universe is, I can't wait to really play their game.
Now the studio is obviously 3 games, 1 out and 2, so it's new. You mentioned that there's a lot of British expats is there a reason why? Is it just a coincidence that so many of you are over there?
As you know, the games industry in the UK has been been leapfrogged by Canada. So Canada's number 2 to the US in the games industry. And I think that's come from the original courses and universities that pioneers like Don Matrick, Electronic Arts set up to it, that everyone's basically now they can get a real insight into the games industry at a very early age. There's nothing like that when I was around in the UK, and then I guess those courses are starting to come up in the UK, but they're still behind and catching up with Canada. And again, the cost of making games in the UK compared to Canada, the fact that the UK government recently announced that the gaming industry was not an area they were interested in kind of giving tax breaks to, and what's been going on in BC with the government getting involved and giving us these great tax breaks. I mean, in Vancouver it's a hotbed for the games industry, and I'm sure it's the same over here on the East Coast. But having these great studios there. It's just great for younger people coming out of university, knowing that it's an industry that they're going to come into, that it's not a dream, it's definitely a reality, that this industry is growing and growing, and I think Canada is going to continue to grow very, very strong.
Did you find the transition being British of immigrating to Canada will be a little bit less of a culture shock than immigrating to the United States?
I don't know if I think it's a culture shock. I mean, I spent a lot of time down in the States recently, so I don't know if it would be a real culture shock. The one thing I did notice was incredibly friendly place when you go to Vancouver. The first day I arrived, I was pretty much like a fish out of water. But literally, I pretty much settled within a couple of weeks. I knew that this place was my home in Vancouver and in Canada. Very, very friendly people. So as a city, Vancouver, as a nation in Canada, I found it no problem at all. I think I have friends in the UK in the games industry that that see Vancouver and Canada as like, well, how did you get out there, Jamie? What do we need to do? And I think there's more and more people who understand that great games are being made here. It's not just a case of the way of life's better. I think over here, which I personally feel that it is. I think the fact that you can go to some amazing games companies here, and that's what's going to make it grow and be special, I think.
So the last question I want to ask you is a little bit about games history. I feel that the legacy of gaming in the UK from my childhood is very different than North America. I never had a Super Nintendo and an NES. You know, I remember Specky games and Commodore 64. What's one of your favorite games from that era?
From the Commodore 64? So I was a Commodore boy, right? So I think I started with the Commodore Plus 4. Just thinking about one of my favorite games.
You're an Amiga gamer as well?
I was, but I got an Amiga later in the day. I wasn't that rich as a child, so I kind of had a PC. A low-end 286 PC, a real like monstrosity of a machine, and then I got an Amiga as soon as I was pretty much earning money. So I was a little bit post Amiga. It was starting to kind of die out. Syndicate was an amazing game. That was one of my all-time favorite games on that console or that computer. Actually, Alex Peters, who is actually he's working on Armada of the Damned. He actually worked on one of those games, one of the Syndicate games. So that's great. Kind of I kind of do a bit of hero worship in there in propaganda. So that would be one of my favorite games of all time. Going back on the Commodore 64. This would be familiar to you. I was a big football fan, so I played Emlyn Hughes' International Soccer, which would mean nothing to anyone in Canada. Emlyn Hughes was an ex-Liverpool player from years ago. And that game really rocked. I liked a lot of the Microprose games as well. I mean, I worked originally from Microprose, and I loved all their simulation stuff. The fact that you could kind of get these layouts on the keyboard and lay them out, so you had all the controls like you had your own.
I remember playing F-19 Stealth Fighter on my Commodore 64, and it's like, when I think about the complexity of that game on a machine of that power was incredible.
Yeah, the fact that you laid out your keyboard, you had everything there, and you came back from the missions, and you'd have you go to the bar scene. Remember the bar scene? So you'd have the one guy sat at the bar drinking like this all down because he failed the mission, or you come back, there's two guys there because they're happy celebrating with you. And sometimes when you get promoted or ranked up, you'd actually have the whole crew celebrating in there. That kind of stuff, just it's so immersive. Even back then, so much detail.
I would say if I was going to go back and say my two favorite games would have to be Paradroid. Right. That's the simplicity of that game. The design of it is brilliant. And The Last Ninja.
The Last Ninja series?
Yes. Very hard.
Yes. And again, one of the guys in our studio actually worked on Last Ninja. Last Ninja 3. Last Ninja 3. Dan Phillips, who's a technical director on Tron. Again, a bit of hero worshipping in the studio. That's the kind of caliber of people we're getting into the studio from the UK, right? These are kind of like 20-year veterans coming over here and starting making games in Canada. So like people like Alex Peters, Darren Hedges, and Dan Phillips. They're all kind of like long-term vets. And yeah, so again, a bit of hero worship in Last Ninja 3. I was like, wow, you worked on this game? And he was kind of like, yeah, so it was, I was a little bit disappointed with this bit and this bit, but it's like, no, it was a classic. You worked on a classic game.
Hard, though. Those games were, like, unbelievably hard.
Yeah, but so beautiful looking, right? At the time, you look back and think that was a game that visually was just stunning at the time, that isometric kind of gameplay.
It's propaganda. Disney needs to buy the rights. They need a new Last Ninja game. That's my dream next-gen title.
How would you do it? How would you do the Last Ninja game on in the next-gen game? So that's the thing, right? It was taking the simplicity and the beauty of that game, and do you want to keep it to the original, or do you want to kind of how would you make it?
Something like I guess sort of I'm thinking of a Dragon Age in feudal Japan kind of thing.
Right. That makes sense. I guess that's what we always look at when you look at those games that were so nostalgic in the past. Do you want to kind of go back and kind of try and emulate what was great in that product, or do you then, like a lot of things, do you turn it into a first-person game, because that's kind of like where a lot of these kind of games go. But again, Dragon Age was our general manager of our studio. He worked on Dragon Age before he came to our studio. So I think RPGs is a great platform for making these type of games, and I think what you're going to see from propaganda in the future is building up on Pirates of the Caribbean and Armada of the Damned. We're going to start looking at how we can make some fantastic products like what you just said, that kind of RPG type of game. So
well, we're looking forward to what you guys are putting out, and Tron Evolution coming. Is it coinciding with the release of the movie or prior to the movie?
It would be prior to the movie. We'll get this up before the movie. Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to playing the game. Thank you for talking to us, and good to see you at Fan Expo.
Great. Thank you very much.